Hello, everyone. It's Kathleen from Tree Sisters, and this is Tree Sisters Creative Interviews. And today we are with Laurie Marshall from the Singing Tree Project, which is just colossal, and I'm so excited to finally share it with you. Laurie and I have been talking and meeting for a couple of years now, maybe even longer than that. And so I'm gonna say hello, first of all. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Kathleen. So happy to be here and be with all the Tree Sisters.
Wonderful. I'm going to read a little bit about your bio so we can get an idea of all the amazing work that this includes. So for 35 years, author, innovator, and artist, Laurie Marshall has empowered youth and adults through creative collaboration. She practices peace building through art, inspired by nature. A visionary educator, she has served mostly low-income children, families, and their schools as an arts integration and project-based learning specialist. Her mission is to nurture creativity, a love of learning, and collaborative spirit. In addition, Laurie is a certified K-12 art and social studies teacher with training in the Waldorf Curriculum, Conversational Intelligence, Peace Literacy, and Outward Bound. Her BA from Antioch College in History and Education and MA in Art and Education from Beacon College laid the groundwork for her innovative use of visual art and storytelling in consensus building, leadership training, and conflict prevention with government organizations, schools, and businesses. She is based in Novato, California, with her two grown sons and their families in Texas. So, Laurie, my goodness, I basically get, pretty tongue-tied when I talk to you because the heart with which, behind all of this education is this very, very passionate heart for all things nature-based, peace and love-based, and connection-based, and for the children and for the communities that are, sometimes left out on the peripheral. And I really feel that this is a deep connection to, it feels like a moment for me to bring you into Tree Sisters. And I know that you've been a Tree Sister for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching have already heard of you, but it still feels like this portal is just really opening for even a new and broader reason. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And I have an update, which is I no longer live in Novato, California. I now live in El Paso, Texas, so I can be close to my grandchildren and my oldest son. And my younger son lives in Austin, eight hours away. So I have, I'm embracing a new era of my life to be able to be with my grandchildren on a regular basis. So it's all part of the same thing, which is loving life and loving the new beings, the new tender beings of life, and making sure that they are nurtured and cared for.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're walking your walk, you're walking your talk, and everything else, and painting your heart. And it's wonderful to know that you are with your grandchildren, and it's wonderful to know that they are with you, and that they will gain that close relationship with such a beautiful person and soul. And for so many, for all these years that you have, made these connections. So tell us, what was the impetus where did it grow from? What was the seed for the Singing Tree Project? And explain a little bit more about that. There's one behind you, I think is the first one you told me today.
It's the first one that I did virtually when COVID began with the Singing Tree facilitators. And I'll share more about that later. The one behind me is called the Rowan Singing Tree of Embracing Our Unknown. And when I I had been planning to train singing tree facilitators for 4 years, and when I finally did, COVID hit. And so we did this virtually with someone from India, somebody of Somalian heritage in London, somebody else in London, and people all over the United States. And this is what we made up together at that, right at that cusp of the important time. So I've learned how to adapt everything virtually. And to share the origin of the Singing Tree Project, it actually began when I was 10. And what I wanted to draw as a 10-year-old was trees. And I gave up drawing completely because I couldn't draw every leaf on the tree. And nobody told me I could draw the big, simple shape of the tree. So I tried and tried to draw trees and failed and gave up. I just didn't draw. And when I went through college, I studied American history and education. I knew I wanted to be a teacher since I was 10 as well. And I gave up the concept of drawing because it just didn't seem accessible to me. But as an extreme extrovert, I have very little easy access to my internal experience. I love being with people so much, and I'm so fed and nourished by being with people that the data that one gets from one's feelings was missing. And when I got divorced at the age of 23 and was heartbroken that my life had not unfolded as I imagined, I began to draw. And all this information about my pain and my sorrow came out in my drawings and was so useful to me. And then I began to draw more and more to both help me observe and slow down, as well as to get this inner information that I so lacked as an adolescent. And I studied art and education, and I made art with people with who learned differently, with elders, with kids who had been incarcerated. That was my master's degree program, and with elders. And I was an artist in residence, and I made a painting with a whole elementary school in Virginia. And a little girl named Meredith Miller said to me, "I wish the whole world could see our painting, and then the whole world would be happy." And then she said, "What if the whole world made a painting together?" And that just flew into my heart and met this longing that I had for the human race to be as massively cooperative as I knew life was. And then somebody handed me Kate Sarady's book, The Singing Tree, which is a book for middle school and high school kids about World War I and about how racist white people are to each other, how racist the Germans and the Russians and the Hungarians and the Poles and the Gypsies and the Jews, they were all so against each other. And Kate Sarady's father was in the army, the Hungarian army, fighting the Russian army. And he told her the story that one night all the soldiers were crawling on their belly to escape the enemy, and everything had been destroyed by war. Nothing was alive. And when the dawn came, one tree had survived, and in that tree were birds who aren't normally together singing a song that had never been heard before. And I look at our beautiful Earth as the singing tree of the galaxy, because there's no life that we know of for millions of miles. I mean, I'm sure there's life out there, but we don't get to bump into it for millions of miles. And we can treat this Earth with love and respect, or we can destroy it and each other. And the singing tree is the symbol that we can treat this life with respect. So the concept of a tree on the Earth in space became the underlying structure of the Singing Tree Project. And I view this as a training for feminine leadership, that we have both feminine and masculine in us. All of us come from a sperm and an egg. And the traits of masculine leadership are very dominant on our planet. And those are the traits of using force to get what you want, and of having hierarchy, and of putting the end before the relationship.
Mm.
And the principle of the Singing Tree Project is of respecting all the voices and being interdependent and relationship based. And I've made a video that I would love to share with everybody about the singing tree as a vision of feminine leadership, which is accessible to all people. And you'll hear the singing tree story again in it. Would you be so kind to share that video?
Yes, already.
And if you can enlarge it, yay, you know how to do this. The music is coming weird.
Sorry?
I said the music is sounding weird on my end. I don't know why. It's coming in and out.
Mm.
And perhaps you could start it at the beginning would be so great.
I don't know what to do about the sound. I think.
That's good. Now. Do you think I might try it on my computer? Because this is sounding very strange on my end.
Okay, I don't know if it'll record the same way, but
does it sound strange on your end, or is it just my computer?
Yeah, it sounds fine.
Oh, it sounds fine on your end?
Yeah, but let's try it from yours and see.
Okay, thank you for this.
All right, I gave you permission to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hold on one second. And now I will share my screen and optimize the video clip. We'll see what happens. Okay, could you see the full screen?
Yes.
Okay, let's try this. me just make sure that I stop the YouTube channel because it does keep going. Here we go. Let's stop that. Okay.
There you go. Wow. Oh my goodness. So beautiful. So many amazing images that you've created with all of those beautiful children and people and parents and families from all over the world. And so many touching images, you know, that speak to, you know, a lot of the things that are going on in the world that we want to shift and acknowledge is happening, and send in, you know, the care of everyone, the restorative justice for a lot of the things that you're working with.
Yeah.
Very, very deep. And, you know, taking it in that way in the video is a bit overwhelming, really, because there's so much there. And the healing part, you know, the healing properties of art and expressiveness that you're tuning into through the tree, and creating these big pieces as well. They're not just, you know, canvas work. So there's got to be a lot around that, creating a mural. And I know you're doing it virtually now, but you know, you were for so many years. I mean, how many years have you been doing this project? It's been
for 20 years.
20. Oh, yeah. You just had your 20-year celebration, right?
We did at the beginning of October, and we brought together many different activists and thought leaders around the issue of using peace building through art.
Yeah.
Through our creativity, and coming at it from that way, as opposed to manipulating power.
Right.
And it's tough. It's tough. The power struggle in our country and on our planet is huge, and the forces of domination and manipulation, instead of this collaboration, I want to show the beauty of and possibility of the collaboration.
Yeah, and you are, and along with the collaboration is, you know, the invitation for everyone's voice to be heard.
Yes.
You know, and that's something that, you know, I hope to weave in with some of the projects that we're doing with Tree Sisters, and some of the opportunities that we have, as you know, being in the position that we are, to open into and to bring along that creativity, because it is the voice that that is shared, that crosses over languages, and that even, you know, goes into those areas where reading and writing aren't really an option yet, you know, that so what connected you to Tree Sisters? I mean, how did you find Tree Sisters? What was your first?
Yeah, it was through Pioneers is when I first heard Claire speak, and just loved her mission and her passion. And I signed up when I went to Pioneers, I don't know, 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And in the Facebook page, I keep seeing these incredible tree-based imagery that's flowing through the women. The trees are talking to us. They really are talking to us. And I am inspired by this artwork that's being generated, and you know, making all art says this is what's important, right? And we're saying the trees are important, you know, and I love the community.
Yes, you're automatically, you know, embraced by it, and now even more so, I hope, because it's a visual expression that we're showing who you are and what you're doing, and what the other people that you've connected to are capable of bringing forward and sharing, and pointing to this being important, like you're saying. And the other thing that art does is it really tracks our history. It tracks our evolution, and, you know, in 100 years, you'll look back at this time and you'll look at the art to see where we were as a people, and what we were doing, and how we learned, and what we valued, and what changes were happening. And so and it's not just about the painted art, even though we're concentrating on that today, but you're also a writer, and it's also about all forms of expression and all forms of creativity,
Exactly.
the singing tree, and Tree Sisters has been part of, singing tree, singing to the trees. That's part of the projects that I know you and I have talked about before, where it's actual singing and where groups are coming together and singing to the trees and with the trees. And one of the new groups in the nest that's going to be opening probably this month. I say that lightly, but I'm already putting it together. It will be for tree and nature communicators, for to
Oh,
point to that, right? To acknowledge
yes.
the truth that the trees are speaking to us, and that in different ways that we're receiving and communicating through our senses, in different ways of but there are messages and information that is coming through that we can pause and listen to and have a place to share it in, so that we can all acknowledge that that's happening for a lot of us, so
It makes me think of two things. One, that children are close to nature because they don't have all the filters. And the children also are channeling these beautiful images, like the blood dragon singing tree to prevent extinction that was visualized by a 7-year-old girl.
yeah,
And when we were making that one, it was in rural Virginia, and there were maybe 40 people ages 4 to 85. And the children started making, instead of adding leaves to the mural, as we usually do, leaves and birds, we were adding animals that we don't want to go extinct. And the kids started making baby animals to go along with the
um,
parent animals. In order for there not to be extinction, there needs
yeah,
to be babies, which is so fundamental to life. And the kids were the ones that thought of it. I didn't think of it. Like, I was in my adult world.
right,
And in order for life to continue, we have to care for the young ones.
yes, absolutely. And that's okay. So two things there. There's another group. There's about 4 groups that I'm going to be introducing that have, I guess, again, not really come through me, but come through Earth. There's this time for this. And one of the other ones is, sharing what we share with our youngsters.
Mhm.
And so, and also what we're receiving from them. So I
Mhm.
want to invite you into that group to share these
Yeah.
messages and share that mural. I know which one you're talking about, and I want to.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to find a way to put that into the comments below of this video, because that's a really beautiful piece that inspires me from a very guttural level, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
when
Right.
you're looking at the connection of, mother and child, father and child, and the continuation of our species, of their species,
Yes. Yes.
that we can hold space for that. So that's so beautiful. Um, what would you say is the deepest purpose of your art? Although I'm sure we've already really covered it, but if you could put it into,
Yeah. I think the deepest purpose is to validate nature.
mm,
And nature, when we are creative, we're connected to creator. We're connected to this, all these incredible forms that we're blessed with on this earth that work together, with each organism having a vital role to play in the ecosystem.
yeah,
And if we don't get that, we are not going to be here. We are not going to survive.
right,
So the reason I don't just paint alone in my studio is because that's not how life works. Life works as an interdependent, beautiful game, um,
mm,
that has depth in it, that always serves a purpose. We're always feeding somebody, and I'm so in love with nature and with being on this earth and
mm,
with life. And I want to share that love
Yeah.
and play and demonstrate that the power struggles that the human race has that causes so much suffering is unnecessary. It is unnecessary. And I hope when people experience the high vibration of collective creativity, that it helps give them that visceral knowledge that we can bring down the temperature 2 degrees. And I did the singing tree of climate solutions in Ukiah, California, Northern California, using Paul Hawkins' book, Project Drawdown. And one of the kids said, if we can make this mural in 12 days, this breathtaking, absolutely poetic, powerful mural in 12 days, then we can turn this ship around. And that is the practice.
Yeah.
I feel very urgent about it.
Yes, I know what you mean. You speak my language, and that creative energy, the creator energy, that is the energy that we're working with. And it's different than what people might think about art, as I'm trained as an artist and a teacher and all of that, but it's not all of that. It's deeper. It goes deeper than that. And
Yes.
most artists know that, that they sort of tune in to something different that's deeper, and it's connected to art, and it's connected to our connectivity to each other, and also to the the one spirit that we are together as, the anima mundi of nature, however that is, arises in people in different ways that it rises. But it's about silence. It can be an expression. It can be a creative expression. It can be expressed in generosity and compassion and love, and in the different ways that we treat Earth, is because creativity is a choice that we have. It gives us a choice. Like if we're not taught to be creative, we're taught that we do have that creative ability, which is magical, like you're talking about, that we're going to follow, certain restrictive paths easier because we're not empowered. We don't feel that we have that creator energy. We don't have that creative energy,
Right.
and possibilities, and so we feel like we don't have choices. We don't have the choice
Yes.
to say no or to say yes to different things. And for me, that's what it's really about, is like right now we can decide, how do we want to treat the earth, how do we want to treat ourselves, how do we want to treat each other, and what are the different things that we can do within that. That's all creative. Like that.
Absolutely. And that reminds me of another urgency, which is exactly that people each have unique images and stories
Yeah.
to bring to our time now that are needed.
Yes.
And one of the principles of the Singing Tree Project is that if an idea comes to you, it's being sent by a higher power and it's needed.
Yeah.
And it may not be used in the form that it came to you, but it's needed. And so I've worked with as many as 1,400 people on a singing tree. And it's incredible because one person could never make what this 1,400 people make together.
Yeah.
And for everyone to understand that they have this vital role is again an urgency I have, because the hierarchical, Putin and the guy from Brazil and the guy from Hungary, that's not how nature works.
No.
And it's going to kill us.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
respecting the ecosystem that we're all a part of, and the co-create, diving into and holding space for co-creative, projects together like yours, and just the co-creative idealism, that we are part of this ecosystem, gets, collapses some of these systems that are completely outdated and
from going this way to that way. And
this
one
way.
of the processes, when Singing Tree mural is completed, then the lead design team or the community comes up with what is the next step
Yeah.
that the community will take, looking at the envisioning of success to the community challenges and the healing of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I know we have limited time, and I would love to share information about Singing Tree training that I'm offering, which is a larger conversation about peace building through art inspired by nature.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you
We
want to
have
try sharing it this time?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can share it. I want to just
Okay,
preface it like a little bit.
sure.
So what you and I have been talking about, bringing a little bit more of an eco-friendly approach to the paints and to the
Oh, right.
the studios of the where these projects are being done, and that I am going to come and to share with you and with your facilitators and whomever about those type of things, because they're healthy for the earth as well as healthy for the artists and those who are working on it. So I'm really excited about that. So I just wanted to preface it before we go into talking about or showing this little video about facilitator training as well. So you go ahead
Yes.
and share it though, because possibly the sound.
Yeah, I have been using plastic acrylic paint, and plastic doesn't work in terms of
here's my estimate.
what I want to bring to the world. So I would like very much to have you be offering this training and using earth pigments. I'm also learned through the Biomimicry Institute about a new kind of paint that's based on the nano structure of morpho butterflies with a company called Cypress, CYPRIS, and we'll be exploring and
researching
those.
Yeah, you got to share your screen. I can hear the voice in the background, but
okay, I am ready now to share the screen.
Okay,
I wasn't
great.
quite ready before, but now I am. Can you see?
I see a blank screen. There you go. There it is.
You are invited to be part of the next cohort of Singing Tree facilitators. This Peace Building Through Art program uses nature-based arts and neurobiology. It helps change agents creatively transform the massive challenges of our time, which include the isolation, disconnection, and alienation made worse by COVID-19, and focused our attention to transform our social injustices. The certification gets you massive upleveling of your leadership skills to facilitate change through creativity, a shovel-ready community healing program, learning to turn trauma into beauty and pain into purpose, the potential for economic improvement, and an international network of peace leaders and creative activists. The Peace Building Through Arts program, where the whole world gets to make a painting together.
Is so amazing because it allows the community to come together to offer insight to what they can witness the future and its potential. I am a local California Native Indigenous activist, artist, and I'm always inspired by seeing these pieces because it allows the whole community to be involved.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. It just gives so much option for the possibilities that we have. And I know that I want to bring you into our creative journey as well. We've talked about, so at some point this year, to talk with some of the creatives that are in there as well. And yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities. So the last thing I want to ask you, as I ask everybody, is, through all of your wisdom and experience, what would you like to share with anyone who is on the creative path, or stepping into the creative path and connection with nature?
I would like to share that it's sustainable and doable for many decades, because I am here and I've been doing this work for many decades. And to understand that getting support is essential, getting training all your life to be a lifelong learner, and to always be willing to ask for help, and to know how worthy you are, and know how worthy this work is, and to reach out and connect with others who are doing it. You're not alone. This is a very important path. And read everything you can, watch all the great movies you can, just connect to the Biomimicry Institute and Pioneers and the Pachamama Alliance and the United Nations, and understand that we are this deeply connected network that must rise and rise the vibration. Oh, because there's way too much suffering.
Yeah.
Way too much suffering.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing. There'll be so much that people can look into and see a lot of these beautiful pieces that have been created in the energy through them. And thank you for all the trees that you're planting also with these projects,
Yes.
different things that you're doing. So we really are grateful for that, for your connection to Tree Sisters and the work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you. And thank you, Tree Sisters. I love you.